Good morning and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. I apologize. I had a computer glitch that suddenly everything just died away, but I'm back up and we'll start again. This week we're talking about the number 40 in the Bible. And what we have said is that the best understanding now is that when you see something like 40 days, it means as long as it takes. It's a nuanced idea, as long as it takes for whatever the thing is to be finished. And we've also seen that during this difficult time, God was with God's people. And we are looking at all this because for many, it can seem like we're going through our own time of 40 days with this pandemic as we wait for its time to be completed. And we need the reminder that as we endure, God is with us. Just as God was with the Hebrew people on the Exodus when they fled slavery in Egypt. The Bible tells us that it took them 40 years to make the journey from Egypt to Israel. And that's always a bit of a difficult thing to think about because it doesn't take that long to get from Egypt to Israel. Maybe you've heard the old joke about how it took so long because Moses was a man and refused to stop and ask for directions. But the larger point is that the time in the wilderness was important for reshaping the people as God's people. During their 400 years in Egypt, they had lost their identity. And before they entered the promised land, they needed to reestablish who God was, who they were, and to define the relationship. And so they wandered in the wilderness as long as it took. But that's not the only 40 associated with this story. In Deuteronomy, there are the stories of 3 separate times that Moses went up on the mountain of God for 40 days. First, he went up on the mountain to learn and receive the law of God, including the 10 Commandments, and to give to the people. Then, when he was on the mountain, as long as it took a second time to beg forgiveness for the people's sin and returned with atonement for them. And then once more he went up on the mountain and was there as long as it took and came back down with atonement again, creating the first celebration of Yom Kippur. The problem was, however, that the people grew impatient during those times while Moses was away on the mountain. You know about one of those times, how they built a golden calf to worship. And Moses was angry enough to break the stone tablets God had given them, perhaps a symbol of how they had broken the covenant with God. And yet Moses went up on that mountain twice more to seek God's forgiveness for this people. Remember Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Moses prayed. And God was steadfast in God's love for the people. They had been faithless, but God was faithful. It's all there in Deuteronomy 9 and 10. The problem is we grow impatient too. We are tired of the pandemic, tired of having to isolate ourselves, tired of not being able to go out to eat or to movies or sporting events or to church, tired of all the small adjustments we have to make in our lifestyles because of it. We're tired of it, and we are ready for this to be over. But it will take as long as it takes. As we go through our 40 days of pandemic, we are the ones called to remember. We are called to remember that God remembers us and that God has not forsaken us. We are, now and forever, held in the palm of God's hand. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.